Hello, everyone. Welcome to 360 Degrees Excellence by Dr. Tosin, where we believe that everyone can achieve all-round success. Joining me for a conversation today is Dr. Emelia Hornam Adator, and we're going to be talking about finding fully funded PhD programs in Canada. But I was just thinking, after I shared this episode on Facebook and other social media platforms, that why must I really focus on Canada? Because a lot of people too are looking for fully funded PhD programs or master's programs in other countries. So, but the tips we're going to be talking about today is applicable, to anyone that's looking for fully funded PhD programs. Some people have also sent some questions that we're also going to discuss today. And I'm sure that you guys are really going to gain a lot from our discussion. Another thing that we're also going to be talking about is how you can convert your passion to maybe money. That's one of the things I tell young people, that they should find something they like doing and they should do it so well that someone will pay them to do it. And another thing that I'm also going to be telling you about is volunteering, that I've seen that Dr. Emilia has been doing, and she's also going to be sharing with us why she does that. So without wasting time, I think we should just get started. So the first question I'm going to be asking is from my guest. I'm sure a lot of us would like to know who she is. So the first question I'm going to ask is from Dr. Emilia. We just want you to tell us about yourself. Who are you? People would like to know you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction, Dr. Tosin. And I want to say thank you for having me on your program as well. And I want to commend you for all the work that you are doing, the motive and the vision for starting the 360 program, and it's really commendable. We hope that it will grow and it will keep being an inspiration and helping other people out there who need some of this inspiration. So to the question, who is Dr. Emelia Hornam Adator? So I've already mentioned my name. My name is Emelia Hornam Adator. So I am a Ghanaian and I come from the Volta region in Ghana. I took my undergraduate studies at the University of Cape Coast in molecular biology and biotechnology, and I did my master's in advanced food safety at the Queen's University of Belfast. And I have just completed my PhD at the University of Manitoba. My PhD was in food science. I am also a gospel artist, or like a singer-songwriter. And I go by the name Emy Hornam, EMMYXORNAM, and you can find my songs on all digital platforms, including YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so that's basically me. If you ask me to introduce myself, in terms of my scientific career, I would say I'm a food microbiologist with expertise in food safety. So I hope I have given you enough information about myself and who I am. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc. I like that. You said that you recently completed your PhD at Department of Food Science, University of Manitoba. Can you just tell us the significance of your PhD research?
Okay, so for my PhD, I did a two-themed PhD project work. So I had part of my PhD was focused on the ability of sugar toxigenic E. coli in dry surface biofilms to transfer viable cells to fresh lettuce. And then the other aspect was on antimicrobial resistance in a One Health continuum using E. coli as indicator species. So for the significance of the biofilm work, the findings of my work show that E. coli can remain viable within dry surface biofilms for at least 30 days. And even in those dry conditions, they can transfer cells to lettuce and cross-contaminate this lettuce. And so this is important to the food industry because they have to make sure that they take steps within the production lines to remove biofilms so that they do not become a constant source of cross-contamination of the product. And this is also applicable to other industries. It doesn't necessarily only has to do with the fresh produce industry. We have the same issue in the beef industry and other production industries as well. And then for antimicrobial resistance, along the One Health continuum, I don't know if we are all abreast with what is going on now. A lot of resistance to various antibiotics and even antimicrobial agents are, happening every day or evolving or emerging every now and then. So for my studies, I looked at extended spectrum beta-lactamase ESBLs, E. coli. So my studies show that sources, so I collected isolates from, all different sources along the One Health continuum, from beef products, beef farms, from humans, from municipal sewage. So a comparative analysis showed that those sources where antibiotics are mostly used showed higher prevalence of antimicrobial resistance. And we know that antimicrobial use selects for antimicrobial resistance. So this findings continues to challenge the human, medical, and veterinary communities to monitor and improve antimicrobial use protocols and stewardship practices so that we can protect, the efficacy of the antimicrobials that we have now. And then if we use enrichment, we can also find high quantities of bacterial organisms that occur in low frequencies or prevalence in specific environments. So for my studies, I used enrichment to select for ESBLs, and that actually enhanced the prevalence that we saw. And also the findings emphasize the fact that we can employ whole genome sequencing alongside traditional methods of antimicrobial resistance studies, and we'll be able to find things that we do not find when we use just the traditional methods as well. And well, finally, not the least, or I've just tried to summarize everything.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
A few words. And then finally, comparative genomics also showed distinct clusters for human-sourced isolates versus, isolates from the beef production. So these isolates are differently adapted, and it's possible that there hasn't been any recent transmission within these two sources for ESBLs. Yeah, so that's a total summary.
Wow, that is interesting, and I'm sure you published some of your work in peer-reviewed journals, and you have also presented, at international and local conferences. Wow, that's interesting. If I may ask, you did your master's in the UK, and now you just finished your PhD in Canada. How did you get, I'm sure you got a scholarship for the one you did in UK. How did you sponsor yourself there? So how did you get that? And also, I also like you to talk to us about how you were able to, get a fully funded PhD program also at University of Manitoba, Can you just tell us?
Yeah, sure. So for my master's, which I did in the UK, I did it at the Queen's University of Belfast, and my studies was funded by the prestigious Commonwealth Shared Scholarship.
Commonwealth, okay.
Yeah, which is an open, scholarship to students from specific countries, especially developing countries, of which Ghana is part. Other countries like Nigeria and all were part. So I met a few students who were also in my class. Some of them came from Nigeria actually, and from other parts of the world. So yeah, actually that funding was recommended by a friend who was also, looking into applying. So we did the application together, and we got it that's just a summary. But obviously, the application process, you have to, put in your statement of purpose. You have to why you think the studies is important, your career goals and all those kind of stuff, and issue sections for volunteering or community contributions and all that. Those were all part of the application process. So then after my master's, I was interested in doing a PhD. Okay, personally, I didn't mind whether it was a PhD or, a work offer that would use the expertise that I had gained from my master's studies, even though like I had the desire to do a PhD eventually, but I was keeping my options open in terms of what comes immediately after my master's. And I did look for programs in different parts of the world, not just Canada, and different application processes and all that. And then I got offered the one in Canada. And actually, when I was preparing to come to Canada, I got a different offer elsewhere, but I had actually committed to this place and all. In terms of how I contacted my supervisor, so like I said, I was looking at a lot of options. So what was my interest? What's my career goal, or the discipline that I wanted to, the path that I wanted to take, and which faculty members in a given institution can actually supervise my work, and which institutions had funding. So there were different types of funding. Some of them are restricted to international students, some of them domestic students, and all those kind of stuff. So all those were things that I had to look out for during the application. Which ones am I eligible for? And which ones do I have the higher chances of, getting? So there were a number of funding sources that I looked at, a few that I applied to. My supervisor was willing to supervise my work as far as we had funding to support the work, because she didn't have, a ready to go funding. So while I was applying, to the University of Manitoba, I had to also, look for specific funding. And I told her, okay, I've seen this funding, I've seen that funding, which I am interested in. So, we went through the process and we got the one that I was on, which was on the University of Manitoba Graduate Fellowship. I applied for a few others as well. But yeah, I ended up with the UMGF, which supported my studies. And my studies was also a collaboration between BCRC Canada and AgriFood Canada and the University of Manitoba. So
thank you for that. Okay, thank you for that information. But the scholarship that you got, the University of Manitoba Fellowship, before you can apply for it, you must first get a supervisor. Is that so?
Yeah.
You must first get a supervisor. You must have a supervisor before you apply.
Like a prospective supervisor.
Yeah, a prospective supervisor. I think let's now go to the questions some people have been asking. Someone asked on Facebook, he said, George, he said that why do most faculty members in Canada schools don't respond to your emails? Or maybe they even ignore your emails. He asked that question. I'm sure he must have tried. I know the person, and he's currently doing his master's at Cape Peninsula University of Technology in South Africa. And I'm sure maybe before he got admission to Canada, he did try. Sorry, before he got admission to South Africa, he did try to gain admission to Canada. He contacted a lot of them. Maybe they didn't answer, So do you have any answer for him?
So to be honest, I wouldn't try to answer for every faculty member in Canada. But then I'll say what I know to the best of my knowledge. because there could be a variety of reasons why a prospective student might not have received an answer from, a prospective supervisor. So the first one I can talk about is that, like, the faculty members, they get a lot of emails every now and then all over the world. And sometimes, they are too busy to answer. That's number one. The other thing is that sometimes they don't even see some of these emails because the emails might end up in junk mail or spam. Yeah, that happens a lot depending on, the setup of the university or the institutional email. So personally, I have witnessed an instance where a prospective student had, asked professor in the hallway that I sent you an email regarding this application, and then he did not respond. And she's like, I've not received any email from you. Meanwhile, apparently, like, the email had landed in, junk mail. And the junk mails, some of them get deleted like every month. So if the person does not check, in that 1 month, the person is not even going to see it to answer. So that could be a reason. And then there's also the possibility that, like, sometimes the capacity of students they can, admit is already full, and then we keep getting a lot of emails. Sometimes they don't have funding. So some of them actually respond that, for this year, this academic year, I'm not taking any students because my lab is full, or I don't have funding, and that kind of stuff. Regarding this particular question, I don't know if I've done justice, but like I said, I've answered to the best of my knowledge. Yes. And others too are just, very busy.
Yeah.
So
I think you answered to the best of your knowledge. Yeah. But I think you said the first thing is that they get a lot of emails all over the world.
Yeah,
and
so
they might not be able to respond.
Yeah.
A lot. They won't be able to respond. One professor also told me the same thing. One professor at University of Manitoba told me the same thing. You get a lot of emails, don't be able to respond. And I also think that if you are also passionate about Canada, you can also call. You don't have to only send an email. You can get their phone number, call them, that kind of a thing. If you don't get them the first time, you keep at it.
Yeah, you have to.
And sometimes when you don't give up and you are qualified, another thing is this: they might also check your CV, and if they think that it's not what they are looking for, they have seen in your CV, they might not answer. But I don't think that is not cautious. But, I would like every supervisor to at least say, look, I've seen I know about your interest, but I won't be able to admit you. I won't be able to accept you for one reason or the other, that kind of a thing. So, but young people or prospective students, PhD students, master students must be determined, must not give up. And I think you must also try as much as possible to know what they want. And then when you have what they want and you don't give up, you are likely going to be accepted. Thank you for answering that question.
Yeah, in that regard, I think there's another question which I might as well answer. I was hoping I could answer it later, but since we are talking about this, maybe I should answer it now. So this person sent me the question directly in my inbox, my messenger. So
okay.
Yeah. So the person said, I know if you want a full scholarship, you need a supervisor, and this is one of the challenges I am facing now. So how can you help me to get a supervisor for my PhD? So personally, like, obviously I cannot really do like the job, like I cannot necessarily secure a supervisor for a prospective student. But then this is the few things that I can share from my personal experience. So there are very few students that, you know, someone has recommended and the person, you know, the prospective supervisor will just say, okay, let's let the person, I'll take the person or something. There are very few students. Most of us, the rest of us, we have to go through the mainstream. That's like contact the supervisor and give them information about ourselves and to see if the supervisor will, you know, accept us or not. So those of us taking the usual route where you don't know anyone per se, from my experience, you have to, you know, look, you know, at the school and the program of interest and see if you actually fit in there. Because some people just, you know, they just email because they want the program, and it doesn't matter whether it is in, you know, it will align with their field of expertise or not. Like some of the professors are looking for specifics, because sometimes you need specific skills to, you know, conduct specific projects and all that. So they are not just looking for anything general. That aspect is there. So you have to like do your homework. Which universities are offering full scholarship for which program that I am interested in? And which faculty members, you know, have some, you know, some overlap with my background. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be exact, but as far as you have something that you can, you know, build on or you can train on. Because I mean, when we all started our PhD, we have to learn on the job. Like you have to learn to do, like, conduct some of the experiments and all. So look for professors that have experience or that will, you know, they have projects or they've done projects that the topic you are trying to, you know, work on aligns with. And look at what funding sources are available. Sometimes it doesn't only have to come with a professor, because the truth is graduate studies is highly competitive now. Every year students are coming out. Everybody wants to, you know, do graduate studies. So sometimes they are limited in what they have, the professors have to, in order to supervise the student. But then there could be institutional funding like the UMGF. There could be international funding like the Vania Canada Graduate Scholarship. There could be other funding, you know, and even sometimes funding outside of Canada, which will support your studies in Canada. So you have to identify some of these funding that you are you qualify for or you are eligible for, so that when you are contacting the supervisor or prospective supervisor, you are giving them all of this information that I've looked through the faculty list and I think your research interest aligns with mine, and I believe you can supervise my PhD work. I've identified so and so funding sources that I would like to apply if you will supervise my work, and that funding will help support my study. So the person knows that you've done your work, and you know, you're not just leaving everything up to them. I don't know if I'm making sense here.
You've made sense. You're really making sense. I really agree with you. Yeah.
So
it's very okay. Go ahead.
And with that, you add your CV, you add your transcript as well. So your transcript will say the courses you've done, how you've performed, and if there are any courses, even if your program is not the exact thing, and there are courses that you've taken, foundational courses that you've taken that will support your graduate studies, they can see all of that in the email that you've sent. And the chances of them getting back to you is high. Even if they don't have funding or anything, they will be, you know, motivated to respond to you and say, okay, this or that. Like some of them will say, for this year, I'm not taking, or next year, we can consider next year or something. So you can, you know, begin the process with them. So for my supervisor, that's what I did. the funding was not there when I contacted her. But then
Mm.
we went through the process, you see.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
interesting. I mean, thanks
And
for that.
welcome. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
after you've done all of that, to pray. Because
yeah. Yes,
it's
true.
not automatic that when you send them an email, they will respond. And it's not
Mm.
automatic that when they will respond favorably. You see, even when we sleep, it's not automatic that we wake up. And when we wake up healthy. So it's the same thing. After you've done your work and you've put in all the effort, pray that your email will be seen, and then it will generate a favorable response. Pray that, like, your contact will stand out as well.
Thank you so much for mentioning the importance of prayer. I really appreciate that. You know, prayer is essential. We really believe in the power of prayer. Another person, Kenny on Facebook, also asked a question about age limit. Do you know whether there is any age limit in Canada, for example, for being considered? Or she was asking if somebody is more than 40, can that person be considered for scholarship or for fully funded PhD?
So to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of funding that they put age restrictions on the eligibility requirements.
Okay.
So I was actually very surprised when I saw that question. I know that different eligibility requirements ranging from GPA to, sometimes your background, and they look for a lot of things, but I haven't seen, like, okay, you have to be 35 years or you have to be the number of years to apply to a program or a funding. So if for example, if I look at the Vanya Canada Graduate Scholarship, there was no mention of age. And if I look at the UNGF, there was no mention of age. So I wouldn't say there is a lot of age restrictions over there when it comes to what you can apply to or not apply to. Yeah. So yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you so much for that. Yeah, thank you so much for that answer. So Kenny can decide to apply for funding, but another thing we need to also emphasize is your grade.
That's
like yourself, you have strong 2-1, and so if somebody doesn't really have a good grade, take for example, maybe take for example you have second class lower. It might be very difficult for you to be considered because like she said, and like I also know, it's very, very competitive. You have people coming from all over the world. So apart from the age, it's not, there's no restriction as far as age is concerned, but you must also think about what is my grade? What is my, do I have a good 2-1 or do I have a first class? All those things do count. Thank you. Another person has this question, is related to what I was just saying. How can I be funded for MSc program, especially in public health in Canada? Also, do I have to write IELTS? And she was also asking whether somebody that has less than 2-1 could be considered. Yeah, I don't know whether you have, a response to that.
I have a response for all of the questions, but I'll respond to the ones that I know. So, personally, I didn't write IELTS or IELTS, let me put it that way, to be admitted. And the requirements vary from university to university. That's why I cannot give a general answer. So even not every university offers public health, masters. And for every university, their graduate studies application requirements vary. So for example, if you look at the University of Alberta, their admission website, it says for IELTS, a minimum score of 7.0 will be it's okay. But then they'll consider a 6.5 with at least a 5 on each band, right? So that's for the University of Alberta. But then when you look at the University of Manitoba, for example, it says achieve a minimum of 6.5. That shows that it's not like there's no one standard for all the universities across Canada.
Okay.
So you have to look at the, admission requirements on each university website, and if they offer the public health that you are interested in. And for every university, there could be exceptions, especially if you are coming from a country that is, speaking in an English-speaking country. So on the University of Manitoba website, they are listed there, like from these countries, English-speaking countries or whatever it is. We don't expect that the students will write IELTS, or IELTS is not like a consideration. It doesn't mean that if you've already written it and you are adding it to your admission, it will take away from it, your application, it will take away from it. It won't, but then it's not something that is considered to actually, not consider your application. So it depends. I didn't have to write the IELTS, and as you just heard, like the minimum requirements or minimum achievements is also different from the countries, the various universities. So you have to, check what the university is saying regarding the IELTS or TOEFL or whatever it is, PRE, and work towards it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Doc. I've also seen on your bio that you've done a lot of volunteering jobs. Why do you do that? And why would you recommend other postgraduate students to do the same?
Well, volunteering is very important because it speaks to who you are, and it shows that you are not just taking away from the community, you are giving back. And nowadays, like I said, everybody is excellent. Everybody who wants to apply for something in terms of academic standing, there are a lot of excellent people out there. There are a lot of good students out there. And they are equally, qualified for the job or for the funding. So what else sets you apart from your grades? So for me, volunteering is very important because if you look at the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, the application, there is a section that you have to write on your volunteering or community activities. So if you don't have anything to write, or if you haven't done anything, then what will you put there? But that is also something that they look at to consider the candidates. And the UMGF too, the same thing. The Vania Canada Graduate Scholarship too, the same thing. There are sections that you write on your leadership or your volunteering activities and all. So it's very important because it shows that you have something else, or you are bringing on board something else apart from, just your academic powers. See, and it sets you apart from the other candidates because everybody is studying. Everybody studies. We all have the 24 hours. We are taking the same courses. What else have you done? It shows how you can multitask. So you were volunteering and you were working on your project work as well. So it also shows how you can do teamwork with other people and all that. And it's good on your CV because even when you go to the job market, some of these things might count. And it gives you transferable skills like soft skills. Some of the skills that you don't gain necessarily by formal education, you can gain those skills volunteering, and it's transferable, directly transferable to your academic career or your, whatever career path that you have chosen. So yeah, volunteering is very, very important, getting involved in extracurricular activities. Sometimes it might not necessarily be just volunteering with specific organizations. It could be sports. It could be a lot of things as well. So
yeah, I sincerely agree with you. And it's also very important for people that want to have what they call Canada experience. By the time you want to apply for a job, if you have volunteered before and you're living in Canada, that could also be a way of showing that you have the Canada experience. So I think I do agree with you. And you're also a gospel artist. So how do you balance your career with your calling? Because I know it's your, singing is a calling. Like, how do you balance it? And you've been able to have two albums or two songs on Spotify. How do you balance? Because I'm sure it must have taken you some time to really do those recordings. How do you do that?
Oh yes. So this one, it's not an easy task. Honestly, it's not an easy task. But then the Bible says, "To whom much is given, much is expected." And then when we consider the parable of the talents, some people are giving one, some are giving five, some are giving three, and all that. And you have to try and use all of these. Because I don't think you can select, okay, you've been given two or three, you select one, then you only work on one or use the one. What about the other one? So I just try, or I do my best, because like you said, it's a calling. And the Bible says the giftings and callings of God are irrevocable, meaning that it's there, it's a deposit that is there. It cannot go away. It might get dormant, but it cannot go away. So for me, I try to make good use of all these things, or all these gifts or talents. During my PhD, I tried to focus most on my PhD work during the week, and then over the weekend, I try to engage in my calling. Sometimes there could be clashes here and there because you have, deadlines approaching, or you have a program somewhere, you've been invited somewhere, you have to go and minister somewhere, that kind of a thing. So in terms of that, I just try to prioritize and balance, what is important at a given point in time or at this time. But I try not to, disengage any of my fields for too long, and to, use them as often as possible. Working on those two songs that are out definitely took some time, a lot of time. And because you have to work on the songs and you have to work with people, um, it wasn't easy, but I'm still working on it. It's an album, so there are a lot of songs that are going to, I'm working on, that will eventually be put together and will come out. But like I said, I'm trying to balance both so that I'm not leaving one down to the detriment of the other. But yeah, I just prioritized these things because someone needs your calling at a given time, to help them through something they are going through, to, move on, to be encouraged or to be blessed. So then you cannot say that you don't do it at all. You have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. You're a role model to a lot of young Africans, and some of them might be looking at you and be asking, how can I be like Doc Emilia? So what advice do you have for young people in Africa? What advice do you have for them?
For for me, I would say sometimes you need to give yourself time, and you need to work at, what you are setting before you. And you have to have the final goal ahead of you, like set it, set the target. This is the target. This is what I want to do. And keep focused on the final goal. And don't get distracted on the things that happen before you get to the goal. Because believe you me, there will be so many things that will happen on the way to getting to your goal, right? But you have to keep going and not look at the discouragements, because if you look around, you get distracted. So just keep focused on the target, keep focused on God, and make sure that you are not distracted and you are working towards what you need to do. Sometimes you could give it a try today, it wouldn't work. You need to try again tomorrow. For example, for these applications, sometimes you might not get it right. You might apply for a funding that you might not get right. You need to go back, try and see if there are any room for improvement, and apply for it again. The fact that it didn't work today doesn't mean tomorrow it will not work. And sometimes ask the people, those who send the letters, oh, we are sorry, the applications were highly competitive, we could not, consider. Ask them what was lacking in your application. You can respond and they'll be happy to tell you that maybe, you were lacking over here or you were lacking over there. Then work on these things, use them, use those, feedback and work on them, and then, do better next time. And then don't limit yourself like, okay, it has to be this. If it's not this, then, I'm not going. Keep the options open. So like I mentioned earlier, for me, when I started, I didn't just, jump to come and do a master's in Canada, or jump to come and do, master's also, where my master's was in UK, and then eventually I'm doing my PhD, or I completed my PhD in Canada. And like I said, there were other countries that I was looking for. So you can have like a list of 4 or 5 countries that you are considering. Keep cast the net wide, so that if today you catch a small fish, you can use that small fish as a bait to catch a bigger fish tomorrow, because the bigger fish is the final goal, right? Yeah, so keep your options open, and then don't be like, if it's not this, if I don't get this, then I'm not going. Sometimes you might not get a fully funded PhD. You might get a partially funded one. If you do your calculation, you will see that, okay, and I think I need 20,000, but for my annually for my PhD, my fees and subsistence and everything, but I'm being offered 18,000. It doesn't mean you should decline the 18,000. You can come in, accept it. You can come in. You have the opportunity to work 20 hours every week as a student. You can take other, jobs like teaching assistant or instructor or something. And that will bring in the extra that you need to support your studies. So if you get partial funding to take it, we don't limit yourself, because no condition is permanent. And then one situation is just a stepping stone to, getting where you are going. So what I'll say is, don't limit yourself, give yourself time and keep working and keep praying. And I'm pretty sure things will work out. There's a saying that life doesn't give you what you deserve. Life gives you what you fight for. So it's like, I know I deserve it, but I'm not getting it. Doesn't mean that I should just sit down because I'm not getting it. I have to keep pushing. So that is something I'll say. Like, you have to work on stuff, and yeah.
Fantastic. I like that. Don't limit yourself. Don't give up. You have to fight for it. Thank you, Dr. Emilia, for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this recording with me. I'm so grateful that you were able to make it. And to our viewer, I'm sure you've learned 1 or 2 things from today's episode. From my own experience too, I want to share with you that you must not give up. I remember that I also wanted to do my PhD in Canada. I didn't get sponsorship. Then I also tried UK. I didn't get scholarship. Tried US. I didn't get scholarship. Eventually, I got scholarship in South Africa where I did my PhD and where I got a job. And after some time, I was appointed as a visiting professor at University of Manitoba where I met Dr. Emilia. So, like, I'm a child of God. You must not give up. You must believe in God. You must keep trying your best. If you try Canada, like she said, if you don't get it, try other places. And if God still wants you to, visit or live in Canada in future, He can still bring you one way or the other, but don't give up. And it's also very important for us to know what our calling is. God has given every one of us a talent. Some have more than one talent, like she said the other time. I mean, discover your talent. Discover what you love doing without somebody paying you to do it. And do it so well that someone will pay you to do it. I'm sure you've been blessed today. I want to wish you a wonderful day ahead. God bless you. See you next time.